Issues in Esports podcast plan. The three current issues I will be talking about are toxicity, mental health, and cheating. Toxicity in esports is when players show destructive, toxic behaviours when online gaming. The forms of this may include verbal harassment or behavioural misconduct, which can disrupt another's experience of games played. How this affects esports. The impact of this is toxic gamers posing a significant challenge for business and communities in the gaming industry. Their aggressive behaviours and hate speech and general misconduct can severely impact the overall gaming environment, leading to the negative consequences for regular and friendly community members, players bad-mouthing in game chats or voice channels. Overwatch 2 had a huge issue of toxic gamers. This can be seen in the following forum provided by the game's community. How this infects players. Toxicity in online games refers to behaviour where players disrupt the gaming experience of others, leading to the adverse outcomes such as depression and low self-esteem. A good example of toxicity would be in the game of League of Legends, which is ranked second most for the amount of toxicity within a community. In League of Legends, you have to make quick time events which can change the output of the game entirely. It can be from things such as missing smite on a dragon or giving them first blood. Anything can happen, but players can take it in a different way by finding it as a toxic environment. The impacts and strategies for toxicity. Declining players with the community due to unhealthy environment. This is the players that want to feel more safe in an environment where they can be, but unfortunately due to games such as League of Legends, CSGO, Dota, a lot of these communities people feel unsafe in because of the toxicity that happens within their game. People are trying to help this issue with certain things such as codes of conduct, but so far that just leads to bans, but people get unbanned and then say the exact same things that they were doing. Reputational damage of the industry. Reputational damage of the industry can stem from many things, such as how people present themselves within the games and outside of the games, as showing the players playing certain games can change their overall characteristics, shows the damage and overall in the esports industry. This is basically talking about how players play certain games and then realise that to play this game you have to act this way, and they lose all their morals of being a forming member of society, which can obviously lead to a lot of issues within esports, as it's wanting to be a community to help people instead of being toxic and spreading them apart. The third impact I have is discouraging communities to participate. This is saying that players will not want to participate in tournaments and competitions due to overall communities within the games, as they feel people present themselves differently. Again, this is talking about how people will not want to compete in games and tournaments because people act differently and more boisterous and obnoxious when they have a large crowd behind them. People can take this in different ways, as not all players are like this, but a majority of players in certain games take this as them with their fans, but a lot of players also see it as being obnoxious and rude. The three strategies I have to overcome this. Creating positive cultures by promoting codes of conduct. This is talking about how codes of conduct within esports, such as rules that you cannot do within tournament games and in general games whatsoever, such as being given bans and penalties for verbally harassing people, going AFK when your team's not playing as well as you wanted to, or you've just given up, or even just griefing your team by letting the other team win. Having penalties and consequences. Having the system in place stop players from having offensive usernames, as it's prohibited to have certain names which can be effective for cultures, minorities and different ethnics. Players that have these certain things will receive bans due to the systems that we have in place to stop players from doing this. Reporting and moderation tools. Reporting and moderation tools are put in place so that people feel more safe within the game, and that people that are in these games with players who are toxic, who are verbally harassing them in the chat or even voice chat, speaking to them, you can report these players so that you don't have to play with them again and people don't have the issues that you have of playing with people like this. In conclusion, I believe that toxicity within esports is a growing issue and we need to try and solve it as quickly as possible, as it's letting a lot of the community leave games because of how they're played out and how people act within the game, when the games themselves, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's the actual communities which are the issue. Participation, popularity and reputation of toxicity. The participation of toxicity, it can discourage new players and toxic behaviours in game from other players being verbally abusive, which discourages players from different minorities and ethnicities. This creates a shrinkage in player base. This is basically talking about how players will not want to play the game, which we mentioned on the last slide, because of how people act towards different minorities and ethnics, and feeling as if they don't want to play the game because they feel as if people are bullying them due to stuff they can't change and stuff that they were born with, which should never be the case, as bullying is not a way to go around playing games and just makes the game a lot less fun for everyone. Popularity. Toxicity can make an esports less appealing in mainstream media, as this may show that there is a foul behaviour happening within the games. So one of the main reasons that esports is not promoted in the mainstream media as much as other sports such as football and tennis is that the people within the games are a lot more aggressive and angry, and people don't want to see that on mainstream media, as they feel as if people won't want to watch it, as a lot of people won't know what's happening as a starter, but they also don't want to see people just getting angry and shouting and just being rude to other players due to their ethnicities and certain stuff like that. Reputation of toxicity in esports. Reputation, if there is a persistent toxicity in game chat, it can lead to a reputation of the game being hostile and unwelcoming, which can affect the developers as well as the players, meaning that players may receive public bans and disqualifications from the games. This is also talking about how people have the bans in place for players playing in certain ways and making fun of people for doing something that they couldn't really have helped. And it also is, again, cyberbullying online, and it's not welcome in esports whatsoever, and it's just ethically wrong for people to act this way, as everyone's here to enjoy their game, and some people just take it a bit too far and ruin it for everyone else. In conclusion, I feel as if toxicity within participation, popularity and reputation is a very double-edged sword, as these things can be seen as very energetic as toxicity, as much as the actual form of bullying people and for their race, skin colour, religion, as much as that can be seen as a negative, people can also see this as hyping each other up, but if they could do it without all of the bullying of different minorities, that would mean it would be fine, because it would solve an issue, but it would also make people a lot more hyped up, as in sports such as football, players, teams from Tottenham don't like players from West Ham, as that's how it works in football, and if that could work in esports, I think it would be a great thing. Mental health. Mental health is a massive issue within esports. It can be seen based off someone's appearance as well as not knowing how to talk about their issues, and it's the hardest thing to do. Is the first step of talking about mental health is talking to other people. Now, someone that had this issue was a former Valorant player known as Sensic. He was playing in the tournaments in 2020 for Sentinels and was one of their up-and-coming players, and suddenly his girlfriend broke up with him during 2020 and he started playing like he was in a hole and he didn't know how to get himself out of there, developing some mental illnesses and some mental health issues, obviously, and he just felt as if he wasn't good enough to play. Sentinels obviously tried to help him as much as they could, but unfortunately he ended his professional esports career at the end of 2020 but he is getting stronger as we speak now, and he's just trying to adjust to being free and alone. And unfortunately, for someone like him, that's difficult, because being in the pro scene for that long, he feels as if he needs to be there. On the other hand, a Rocket League player known as Com was quite a toxic player actually within the game, which was him verbally abusing players over the stands, making fun of them for not being able to save goals, and people liked that he was like a bit aggressive and a bit different than all the other players who were very concentrated. He was more of like a fan. He was a fan favourite due to his reactions within games. But when he was against G2, one of the better esports teams, and the fans didn't like how he was acting, as they felt as if he was displaying rude conduct to players who had been playing this game for years. From this, he then was given quite a serious ban, as shouting across the stands, swearing at them, and making them feel very uncomfortable. He received a ban from not being able to play LAN events, as well as also not being able to actually play Rocket League for a while, as the developers of Rocket League stepped in to stop him from acting in the way he did, as it was very childish. The fans also mass cancelled him online for his reputation, and overall his entire career kind of ended in that one final tournament. Impacts and strategies for mental health. The impacts of mental health. Direct impacts on performance. Again, this can be linking to Sen Sick, who was basically struggling with mental health, and it made him perform in a less optimistic way and change his mindset on gaming competitively completely. Burnout and career longevity. Again, this applies to Sensic, as he overall just got bored of the game and felt as if he didn't feel like he was in this zone anymore, because obviously when you're not performing as well, you get bored of not performing well and feeling as if you don't belong there. And he just lost enjoyment for the game as a whole entirely, which decreases mental health, because he felt like this was what he wanted to do, and now he doesn't have that. He didn't know what to do with himself. The third impact I have is players bad-mouthing in game chats or voice chats. This can be linked to Com, as he was bad-mouthing in game chats, voice channels and in person to professional players, but this can also be seen in casual play, as players do also see this happen a lot and can be banned from games and stuff like that if they are seen doing this. And it's an issue that needs to be talked about more, because people don't seem to understand that people's mental health is our main priority within esports. Strategies I've thought of to help with mental health. Implementing rest periods and off seasons. Implementing rest periods and off seasons would be a great comparison for both direct impact on performance and burnouts, as having these rest periods will make it so that your burnout stage will feel less, as you'll be more relaxed and chilled out during your rest periods. And having this in place, I feel, makes it so that players have a lot more of a longevity within esports, and will feel as if they're more welcome to have some time off and have a little break every now and again, which is obviously needed, as they are professional players, and obviously they deserve it. It can also directly impact on performance, as it probably will increase it by boosting their morale and their team spirit, as Sentinels recently went on a trip to Dubai together to do some team bonding exercises as a little rest period, which they did, which was a very nice way of thinking about it, considering their team was crumbling a bit, and then after this they all grouped up as a team and won the World Championship. Another strategy would be industry standards for mental health. This is talking about how players should be entitled to have mental health professionals, therapists and counsellors, because even if they may look like they're fine, they may be dealing with some undercover issues that nobody actually knows about, and the hardest step is always to talk to someone first, and the one thing that they need is probably someone there to tell them that they are not alone and they are there for them, and they just need someone to put them back onto the right track. Establishing a supportive culture. This is talking about how we need to normalise mental health issues within esports, as people see mental health as a negative thing, but a lot of the time mental health can change due to situations you're in, living conditions, everything like that can be affecting your mental health, even your sleep schedule. So performing proper balanced things for this can increase your mental health as a whole. In conclusion, I believe that mental health within esports needs to be spoken about more, as people need to feel as if it's a more normalised thing, and people need to talk about it together so that they can solve the issues that they're having in their life. Participation, popularity and reputation of mental health. Participation. You can burn out and have withdrawal effects on participation, which can lead to players leaving esports. Again, this is talking about Sensic, as I've mentioned twice now, of how he had his burnout stage and felt as if he didn't belong in the situation he was in. But having things in the way to stop him from this, such as rest periods, could have really helped him and prevented him from doing damage to himself, as having a rest period probably could have helped him a lot, and having someone there to talk to would have helped him with dealing with a lot of the issues he had going on. Popularity. Public scrutiny can affect popularity, as there is a report on mental health issues and it can reduce the effects of public esports to their people. But this can also attract new audiences who are more likely to attract younger audiences if they see a positive game. This is talking about how public scrutiny, such as people getting bullied online or mental health issues happening, will effect of wiping out a lot of the old players and bringing in some new younger players who like the game, like the look of it, and change it so that the players can actually have fun in their game. Reputation. Mental health can have a massive impact in public perception. This includes cases of mental health breakdowns for players and even leaving esports, as well as sponsors hesitating to invest in players in a harmful environment. This is mainly talking about, the bit that I'll mainly talk about this is the sponsorship part, as players won't want to invest in people that seem to be ruining their life by letting everything get to them and not speaking to anyone about it, as they don't want to invest in people that aren't going to invest in themselves and take care of themselves, as they want to show their brand as being a good thing, and this player has it because he is this, and everything good towards it. In conclusion, I believe that mental health needs to be talked about more, but I also think it's an issue, but it's also a gift, as there is a lot of things that you can do to affect people's mental health, both positive and negative. The negatives we've already talked about, as well as the positives, but I believe personally that mental health is a very 50-50 situation, because if you're in a good living condition and around good people and have enough sleep and enough energy for the day, and you will be fine. You just need to look after yourself. Cheating is the third and final thing, impact we'll be talking about within ethics. What is cheating? Cheating can be seen in many various ways, such as aimbotting in FPS games and wall hacks in FPS games, but it can also be seen in other types of games, such as MOBAs, such as League of Legends and Dota 2. These games, the cheating method that they have is scripting. Scripting is a very frowned upon cheat, as it basically predicts for you when characters are going to use certain abilities which would usually hit you, but because you are scripting, you dodge the ability in a split second knowing where it was going to hit. One of the players that was cheating in one of the CSGO finals was caught for actually aimbotting and wall hacking within it. This was a massive issue. The player's name was Forsaken, and it shocked the audience and fans, as he had a massive player base and a massive fan base, and everyone saw that he was cheating, and he lost it all in the matter of 5 minutes because of the acts that he was committing, as this was one of the biggest tournaments of the entire year, and he just started cheating in it, which obviously gives him an unfair advantage against others, and was given an immediate disqualification. An ex-pro player that we can also talk about here is Azubu Frost, who was a League of Legends professional player who was caught screen watching the players on the other team. What this did for him was obviously give him an unfair advantage of knowing where the players were going to be, and from this he would also know how to play out the rest of the game. This was obviously a massive issue within esports, as the referee stopped the game, told him off, told him to look at his own screen, and he continued to look back at the other person's screen to cheat and try and win the game. He was later fined $30,000 due to his unsportsmanlike conduct. Impacts and strategies for cheating. The three impacts that I have can damage people's reputations. Damaging players' reputations within esports is a huge thing, as a lot of people build their fan bases over specific players, and seeing that the player cheat is a huge issue for them. What this means is the reputation of the overall player will be demoralised and completely torn to the ground, as if people see them cheating in games, you won't want to follow him and make sure that you look out for him and everything, because he is using an unfair advantage to boost himself higher than he actually is. Another impact could be a decline in a player base. A player base can be declined in many different ways, such as cheating, which makes the game less fun and there is more cheaters active in the game. People won't want to, what this basically means is people won't want to play games if there's more cheaters in the game, as it makes it less fun for them and a lot more unskilled for everyone else in the game. Even if it is a very fun game, people will not want to play it due to cheaters. Another impact can be hindering sponsorships and potential investors. This is a huge issue for esports, not only for professional players but also content creators and esports organisations. What this really means is that if they find a player on the team who is cheating, sponsors and investors will not want to invest in the company, as they believe that it is not a positive way of showing off their brand by investing in someone who is cheating the system to perform better at games. This can also ruin people's lives from taking away sponsorships that they had and having to not be able to do what they loved doing. Three strategies to solve cheating. One of the strategies is advanced anti-cheating technology. These are detections to stop players from cheating within games and help prevent their issues within gaming tournaments. This is basically talking about how Riot Games use Vanguard to detect cheaters within games and stop the game immediately and get you out of there, and you will not lose points from playing in these games, as it was unfair that your team or the other team had a cheater on. Another strategy would be Esports Integrity Commission. Organisers can partner with ESIC, Esports Integrity Commissions, which enforce bans and anti-cheats technology, as well as being able to give advice and tips. This company is basically another type of anti-cheat software, as well as helping the overall game look into what's happening and give them tips of how they can change their software so that the cheaters will be caught instead of being able to just roam freely in the game. Proactive measures in tournaments. Hosting LAN tournaments are one of the better things that you can do for strategy to help with cheating, as LAN tournaments will be live and in person, and you'll be able to use their own equipment that the event has brought, so that you can install anti-cheat softwares on them so that players cannot bring their own stuff there, as well as having referees and people coming around the aisles to look at the players to see if they're doing anything suspicious. It also is a lot better for people to watch, as the screens will be face to face, as Azubu Frost actually made it so that League of Legends was not anymore side to side, they were like this, so that people could not scream much off of each other. In conclusion, I think cheating within esports is a very bad thing, and it makes it a very unfair advantage towards the others within the game, almost making it impossible to win. The strategies to overcome cheating have been tightened to make sure nothing happens. What I'm basically talking about here is how I don't think that cheating itself is good at all. Cheating is a very bad thing and should never be done, as it's an easier way to win games, but it also comes with a cost of being banned. I feel like anti-cheat softwares have really buckled down recently, especially Riot Games Vanguard with their anti-cheating softwares, as a lot of cheaters have recently been kicked out of Valorant, as a lot of them have been caught. Participation, popularity and reputation of cheating. Popularity. Fans lose interest in a game if they believe the game is unfair, which makes it so that less people watch the events, which is why some games use anti-cheat software systems, which will develop an increase in popularity within the games. This is basically saying that fans and players will not want to participate in events if they feel as if it's not fun, as players make it unfair by using certain things to cheat their way to winning, and obviously doing that will make it so that less people want to watch it, as it's a lot more one-sided on who's going to win. Reputation can affect popular esports teams, which can make it so that the players who cheated lose followers and fans, and can often cause players to have a career-ending time, meaning they will face reputation damage and fans will abandon them, as well as having to pay fees in some situations. This again is talking about Azubu Flame Frost, as he obviously faced a lot of backlash from cheating and had to pay a $30,000 fee, as well as being publicly shamed online for his performances within the game and his overall ethics towards playing the game. Participation. It can reduce players' attention, which means that players will reduce their impacts on the games, meaning that their attention goes somewhere within the community, as well as creating a barrier for new players. This discourages new players from playing the games. This is basically saying that players who are cheating within the game discourages new players who wanted to learn the game from playing it, as cheaters obviously make it a lot less fun and make it so that you feel as if you're never going to be good at this game because there's people in the game doing that. But it obviously discourages younger audiences from playing the games and trying to learn the games because they want to have fun. In conclusion, I believe that the strengths of cheating is the anti-cheat software that are getting stronger and stronger as time goes on, and learning how to spot cheaters. I would say the weaknesses of it is a while back when League of Legends first had tournaments back in 2011, they were not planned properly, as they were LAN events, but monitors were next to each other so they could see what was happening. I believe that is a weakness within it. But overall, I think that cheating is just an awful thing to do in a game, and you should never do it. Thank you for watching my presentation.